Dear viewers, I'm afraid that today I bring you a second serial killer that very likely never existed. First, the story, because who doesn't love a good, likely fiction? Vera Renczi is alleged to be a Romanian serial killer charged with poisoning 35 individuals, including her son, with arsenic during the late 1920s, somewhere in Serbia. The story goes that before she was 20, she married a wealthy Austrian banker named Karl Schick and had a son named Lorenzo. She poisoned the husband in a jealous rage because she was sure he was cheating on her. Huh. Then she told all who would listen that she and her son had been abandoned. About a year later, the respectable mourning period in her mind, she began telling people that she heard he died in a car accident. She remarried and became suspicious that her second husband was cheating, and so, well, he had to go. Again, she told everyone that she and her son were abandoned. Another year passes, and she told everyone that she received a letter confirming he left her. Then she said, well, to heck with marriage, and had an affair. Well, many of them, affair after affair. Some with married men, some with single men. She killed them all. And whenever someone asked, why, they cheated and abandoned her, of course. The wife of her last lover didn't accept that he just disappeared, and so, after being rebuffed by police, she investigated herself and brought proof to the police that Vera was having an affair with her husband. They show up at Vera's place and she says, what do you think? I've been abandoned again. So police quit searching because, well, she's beautiful and wealthy and had an excellent reputation. The wife reprimands the police and asks, well, where is her husband? Where is her son? Where are all her lovers? They go back to see her and she is inconsistent. They get a search warrant and discover a locked round cellar beneath her home. In the cellar there were 35 spaces, each with a zinc-lined coffin in it. There was a red armchair, big church candle, and an empty bottle of champagne. She said, they're family members. They said, well, let's open one up and see, shall we? They see a decomposed body of one man, and they open the rest of the coffins, finding male after male after male. She was arrested and said she poisoned all of them with arsenic because they had been unfaithful. She was sentenced to death, but Yugoslavia, where all these deaths took place, did not execute women at that time, so life in prison it was. She is said to have become delirious and had amnesia and became quite senile. She died in 1960, or she died before the opening salvos of World War II of a brain hemorrhage, maybe in 1938 or 1939. We don't know. This story first appeared in English, anyway, in an article by journalist Otto Tulicius in May 1925. He gave no references, no dates, not a single verifiable detail. But it's a good story. Let's assume that good old Vera was sentenced to death in May 1925 when that article appears. It is said that all of the deaths occurred in the 1920s. It's said that she married her first husband at near age 20. So she's married at least long enough to have a son. She then kills the first husband and mourns for a year. We're in at least September 1921 now. She marries again, waits a few months, kills again, and mourns another year. Let's call this December 1922. She then kills 33 more men, some with some affairs lasting months, some weeks, some days. Let's leave 5 months for the police investigation, gathering evidence, getting to a trial, getting to a sentencing. That leaves only 24 months for her to kill 33 people, including her son. That's one every 3 weeks or so. And nobody notices? In what is said to be a very tiny, tiny village in the north of Yugoslavia, not a single person until this wife notices. And let's talk about that village. It is said to be called Berkurkul, and I probably butchered that pretty good. It is said to be in modern-day Serbia. There was a village called Bekrek, which was never spelled Berkurkul in any source ever. That village was renamed Zrenjanin in 1946 or so. And we've searched through online Serbian newspapers with the intention of finding any village with any kind of similar name or any reference to one, and we have found none. Now, let's get to the investigation. There are no known records of any investigation, no police officers who participated to give an account. There are no references to any court proceedings, no trials. There are no transcripts, no photographs, no media reports of the arrest or the trial. There are no medical records of any autopsies done on the bodies, no traceable names of the men, no death reports, no dates. There's no reference to any such sentence or to prison records or death records for Vera Renczi or any similar trial. As early as 1972, the Guinness Book of World Records were unable to find any sources for any of this either. So let's talk about the son. The reason given for killing the 24 adults was that she was looking for love. Then why kill her son? Sources put his age at 10 when he died, but if she was caught and sentenced by 1925, he could have been no more than 4 or 5, based on the facts of the story if you believe them. More than one source would say she killed the son because he was blackmailing her after discovering her secret stash of bodies. A boy of 4 or 5 or 10 even, blackmailing his mother? Really? Let's talk about the cellar. Why were there only 35 openings? To fill exactly 35 caskets? She was just going to stop then? There are no photographs of any such cellar, which surely would have been taken by investigators. There is no address for the mansion either, which allegedly held this cellar and its dark secrets. Let's talk about the death penalty in Yugoslavia. The death penalty existed in Yugoslavia, now this area of it anyway being Serbia, since 1804. It wasn't abolished until 2002. The last execution was done in 1992, so someone could have been sentenced to death in 1925. In Serbia, executions were by firing squad in public until 1929. Between 1920 and 1940, there were 232 executions in Serbia, more than any other state in Yugoslavia. There is no mention of a woman being given the death penalty in Serbian papers at all during 1925. Let's talk about the newspaper reports. Serbia has had a reliable newspaper going all the way back to the 1800s. There's no mention of anyone with this name, any serial killing of this type, any finding of 35 men in a basement. Nothing during 1924, 1925, 1926. The same paper talks about even petty crimes. Makes no mention of the serial killing of 35 men, some of them prominent bankers. There's no death certificate for her, and sources will quote anywhere from 1938 to 1960 for her date of death. Did she die of a brain bleed in prison? Did she die in a mental institution in 1939? That's quite a spread. The death of a serial murderer is usually pretty big news. We can't find any news article that spreads news of the death of such a vile woman. Not anywhere at all in Europe. There's no mention of a Karl Schick, who was an Austrian banker living in this small village either. There's no mention of an Austrian banker named Karl Strick, who was killed anywhere in Austria. Not of his marriage, not of his death, not of his disappearance, nothing. The second husband is said to be Joseph Renczi, where she gets her last name. No mention of his death or disappearance in any newspapers of the day. Some sources say that Schick and Renczi died in Austria, So we checked, and we couldn't find any reference of either men living, dying, or disappearing there. There are a lot of photographs in those papers, yet no picture of a Black Widow serial killer who was supposed to be so beautiful that police just stopped questioning her. Really? There are these three pictures, which are only ever used in recent crime stories, repeating the same facts about old Vera. However, these are all pictures of Vera Fedorovna Komisarchevskaya, a famous Russian actress. Then there's this one, also not Vera. This is Maria Elena Milagro de Hoyos, a Cuban-American woman who an obsessed doctor encased in wax and plaster after she died of tuberculosis. It's really quite a grim story. And then this one, who is still not Vera, this is Ilse Koch, an infamous Nazi war criminal. Surely the case would be well known by lawyers, law professors, or criminologists in Serbia. Well, no. Another researcher reached out to Serbian experts from Zrenjanin, including a law professor and a crime academy assistant, and they never heard of her or of any case like it. Serial killers are studied and reported on in academic papers, especially after World War I. Nothing. There's not a single one. Others have also suspected Vera Renczi has never existed, and after they too raised questions, many of the reported sources and content have begun to be deleted, which is probably not a bad idea, since I agree this is a serial killer that never happened. It was a fiction told in a newspaper in 1925. Thanks for listening. If you're enjoying these videos and want more, don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss any videos. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate it.